Okay. So we've got a Kenmore, what is it? I forget the other brand. That's the same model here. Top load, direct drive washing machine. Taking the top off it here so everything, you can see everything, and jumpered the lid switch so that it'll run. Right there, we were in the rinse cycle. It's doing the agitation step of the rinse, which works fine. The timer is now counting down, and it's now going to go into drain, and drain will work fine. You can see here the water level right here. Drain is down here. So this is going to drain. There it is, draining. And drain works fine. And it's going to drain, and then it's going to move on to spin. And then it's going to exhibit the problem here. The problem happens at the spin, and it also happens after the wash agitation and before rinse. So after the wash agitation and before it fills the tub up to rinse, it does another spin. It's not actually listed on here, but it happens right about here. So it's going to drain the whole thing, and then I'm going to show you what it does when it tries to spin. Before it does here, I'll just show you while it is draining. That's the clutch, the thing that the clutch band goes into that it pushes against. Right there, the silver thing. And it's not moving right now because right now we're in neutral drain mode, and the motor is powering the drain, the water pump alone. And so in a moment here, what's going to happen is this is going to start to spin at a very high speed, and what is supposed to occur is that the clutch band grips, and the the basket slowly gets up to speed. But instead, watch what happens here. So the timer, here we are just about to spin. Timer's going to count down. Then it's going to switch the transmission over so that it goes into spin mode. All right. It's trying to spin. Even if you give it a little bit of a hand here, it'll spin, but it will never actually get up to speed. Let's watch it for a second here. Right now that clutch metal is heating up because the clutch band is moving much faster. But as you can see, it's just not going to get up to speed here. We can give it all the time we want. Notice that it's basically holding or slowing down here. Now here's the workaround. So that water there is just part of the initial spin. Here's the workaround. You can see that it's continuing to not get up to speed. I turn it off. The brake engages. It stops. I move it forward a little bit. I move it backward a little bit. And now, nope, it didn't work. Let me try it again. I didn't move it far enough. So move it forward. You can see that. I don't know if it's the clutch or the brake, but whatever it is, probably the brake. Okay. Now we start it up. And now, watch what it does. Now it's working correctly. So this will continue to speed up as the clutch band and the bell the clutch sits in get in sync, and it will successfully spin the clothes dry. So what I'm trying to figure out is what is causing this. I've replaced the clutch band and the motor coupler. I mean, obviously the motor coupler is not the issue since it's doing agitation. I have looked at the drive block and spin tube, which are inside inside the agitator here. When you take the agitator off, you can see them, and they look good. They look fine. There's no apparent issues between the two tabs and the spin block. I'm sorry, the drive block, I think it's called. So yeah, trying to figure out what is causing this. I've opened the transmission up just to see if there's anything obviously wrong. There's a giant nylon gear inside the transmission that I thought maybe had gotten worn down or something. It looks fine, all the movement in there. And really, it sounds to me like there's something, well, it sounds to me like there's something going on in the transmission, because by doing that motion of forcing the basket around and then forcing it backwards, well, not solves, but it works around the problem. And to me, that sounds like something inside the transmission. It's a fairly complicated setup inside the transmission. Something in there is getting into the right orientation. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that something between the relationship of the clutch band which sits in that bell, and the brake which sits above it. Something about that is not correct, and by manually pushing the basket around, it's correcting that. Anyhow, if you've got any ideas as to what the cause is, I'd love your help. Everything else works fine. Agitation works fine. I didn't show that here. The pump works fine. You saw that. Looking at all the parts down there, everything looks fairly clean and in good order. There was some oil on the bottom of the transmission, and maybe a small oil puddle under it. When I opened the transmission up, it had oil in the basin. Probably could have had a bit more in there, but it had enough such that when I moved the gears around, they like drew oil onto them and were somewhat bathed in oil. Yeah, and you can see, so at this point you can see the basket and the clutch band are in sync. It shouldn't be slipping at this point. It's all the way up at its maximum speed. The thing is flying around here, as you can see. So yeah, any ideas? Your help would be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much. Oh, and this is, right, so it's Kenmore 80 series Whirlpool. Kenmore Whirlpool. Kenmore Whirlpool. Type 111, Model 110. It's a direct drive. Yeah. Oh, and normally this piece goes on top here. I just left it off because it shouldn't really matter. All right, thanks very much.